2,000 years later.
Are we there yet?
Hello, it's KR Brickbot, and this is the finale. This is the final Tobot V character ever released. The Combiner Tobot V King Fortran, aka King Quatran. Just as they go out, they misappropriate the name of a sacred Tobot character. They just really. I do think 4 is just better than Quad in this case, and maybe just because Fortran kind of sounds like Fortress as well. It's very unlikely he was redubbed Quatran because Fortran is also the name of the first implemented high-level programming language designed to support numerical computations for science and engineering applications. I believe this is the biggest box of all the Tobot V season releases, barring multi-packs. So the background, it's at the ground level, it starts with the Earth, and then which gradients into like a pink, I guess a pink cosmic flare. And then each of the vehicles in front view and what part they form. Logo again in that gradient V, King Fortran there. A bird's eye view of the robot. Side view has another illustration with the weapon deployed. Has the 4 vehicles emerging from Earth on a tricolor road. Much like many Korean combiner boxes, the back of the box is a vertical portrait. So you can stack it up like this and this be the prominent display. Yeah, so the 4 combination, 4 arrows, and again, that same illustration there, and then the toy illustration of the 4 vehicles. Yeah, the toy illustration on the back. Yeah, it's good to have options, unlike most of the time they would just be all CG illustrations, so I prefer it when there's some more authenticity when they have also toy images, and not just renders of toy images. Obligatory disclaimer that these 4 vehicles don't have their own robot modes. The bottom of the box tells you there is a storage box in this big storage box. And then that's October of 2021. And the ingredients, plastic packaging or cardboard packaging. Why not both? Yeah, just have most of the robot off to the side and then air hide the plane all on its own off to the side in cardboard. I mean, I guess that's a way to space it out. You know these toys are not the vehicle scale, but they really do shift the sizes and size hierarchy in their combined toys. Number 4 and 7 really shrunk. Regent goes from a teal to a blue, like a pretty standard blue. You can see where all the blue goes, and also black spoiler. I guess it carries over most of the detailing here and here. And yeah, even the back exhaust and the other bubble tires. Although a little one-sided on this one. I mean, I guess it's not a bad color for the blue buggy, but you know, that's not as remarkable as the teal buggy. Also, could have used a better breakup with the headlights and the window section right here. Big Boss goes from a white and lime bus to a yellow and red bus. Just so slightly smaller. Maybe like 2 to 3 scales down. You know, I guess it's a nice color cohesion with this kind of bus. Although a bit more of ugly clips on this one side compared to this one. And yeah, not so much of a back area here, but there's still a back area and a little blue striping on the top. Maybe thicker yellow rear view mirrors. And not much of a rear mirror here, but you know, those are minor details. Air hide goes from a white to blue plane to a green and orange plane. With its own static landing gear. I mean, comparably, this is almost the exact same size as the main air hide component, so yeah, that's nice to have at least this thing size consistent. I guess it's just a marginally a bit shorter in the wingspan. And also, this thing has properly sized tail fins, and not these dinky little tail fins on the main toy. Nice striping there too. Yeah, imagine an airliner whose signature color are green all over and orange. Yeah, the underside is important for robot planes. Yeah, pretty clean underside, a double layer, like an extra layer paneling here. Not quite so on the wingtips as extensively as this, or nor on the bottom of these tail fins. Yeah, but it's still strategic hollowing. Yeah, because this is not a robot, you know, this has a smoother fuselage overall. But the main robot also does clean up pretty well, like containing almost all of the robot here and just the arms out here. And then Power Loader probably has the most drastic size change, like maybe 40% smaller, 40 to 50% smaller. It goes from a light orange dozer to a dark orange dozer with an all blue bucket and lift arm. Doesn't actually function like this. And also the number 7 is relocated. Otherwise, this is not a bad color for a construction vehicle, just with a toyetic bright blue in front. And yeah, it gets slightly different structure of tires and different silver colors here. Although, been unfortunate that these rear smokestacks are perfectly symmetrical, while these were like characterfully asymmetrical. If I'm gonna be that pedantic about scale for vehicles that don't exist for very long and only exist to turn into different robot parts, these do scale pretty well in the main line or like the main diecast car 3132 car scale. Like, yeah, pretty sizable bus there, and or dozer compared to cars. If this is supposed to be a single-seater or a double-seater buggy, then yeah, this buggy is way too big. And then probably fits better in the next scale up of car, like the medium 24 scale. And then the scale of jumbo aircraft is completely irrelevant in most all of combiners with aerial bots. V integration. Yeah, so these are the robot feet. Different type of feet from the big boss feet. Then yeah, double folded panels. Very loose hinges, frictionless hinges, so you could kind of gravity collapse that. Then slide these down to reveal the robot keycaps, as consequently there's a lot of hollow space here in the vehicle mode. And then this is easily overlookable, but this is a double jointed knee here, so just make sure to get both of those hinges up. Oh yeah, and then be sure to split this and then get this out and then flip out the rear heel, which clips in right nicely there. Nice satisfying click right here. And then yeah, slide this front of the bus that kind of forms a butt plate, kind of similar to another, not exactly the same, but very reminiscent. Regent the buggy form torso. Yeah, be sure to slide these tires in. Yeah, this front folds up on itself like this, unlike the main Regent. Yeah, I guess you have to get this panel out of the way. And then yeah, put this torso down so that it makes enough clearance for the head here. No, I was wrong. I think the tires are meant to go out like this. Yeah, that just slides in forward like this. Dozer number 7 forms the arms. Yeah, so these flip over like much like the original Dozer, and then you can flip these down. Don't forget to flip these kneecaps because they will get stuck if you don't flip them out beforehand. And this kinda looks like it could be its own individual robot if given more engineering, but then that'll be a whole bunch of little intricate parts, not for kids. Yeah, just nice split there, and then just slide joint over. Get the cabin become the hands. Flip out the finger. This does look like a complete combiner on its own. So would that make him King 3Tran or Tritran? No, but this is Fortran, so air hide forms the extraneous wings. Also, I love how there's little seats molded across through all the inner detailing. Yeah, including one right up in the captain's area, although slightly below the window. Yeah, but imagine that tiny little people sitting inside of this plane. And maybe a little cargo area beneath here. Yeah, but it's a nice little black hinge that folds out like this. Yeah, basically you just take the rear, split. They clip specifically to each side. I guess you just remember that the tail fin goes first to cover up the least surface area, and then turn the wings around. Yeah, make sure to get this panel up. And there are 4 clips here, just click them appropriately. And then take this extraneous chest piece and just plug that right in the center. If you haven't seen me talk about this thing yet, because it's only relevant in the robot mode, would have been really nice if this thing could store right on the underside of the buggy, but it doesn't. It's just too long, or this body section is just too short. Even though that's the exact spot where it would slot in robot mode, I guess. Because it doesn't account for this, you really can't hold it in like this unless by sheer coincidence, but nope. No, what you're supposed to do with this thing in vehicle mode is just chuck it in this giant storage box. Yeah, it's a pretty simple box with just like the logo, both logos on both sides. Seriously, but this big thing for a tiny little X and the instructions. I guess this box is big enough to store Regent, or Big Boss, or Power Loader, but never more than one, and definitely not Air Hide. Really would prefer to have this all integrated instead of just putting it in separately loose in the box. Hey, at least they gave a box, for most toys with loose accessories with no intention for them to store in vehicle mode. You would have to just go find a baggie or a drawer on your own, or just lose it. The colors. We gotta talk about the colors. He is a very colorful combiner, like all 4 of the primaries. Red, yellow, blue, and green. And then secondaries of orange. I mean, yeah, it does look like a very kid-friendly combiner. I mean, it kind of looks like a coloring book. I think it's mostly the green that makes this the most neon, but even these colors aren't that bright. Yeah, so even if you remove those, I think the 3 colors that remain, none of them particularly stand out. I guess, red and blue is always a good combination, but then put a little orange in there and maybe just kind of subdues the other 2 colors. So maybe I guess, I'm not sure it's the best color arrangement, but I don't think it's the worst either. But I guess if you look at this in monochrome, it is a pretty cool combiner design. Like the butts forming nice long legs, and then, those top of the buses forming long shin guards with arrows down there. I guess it's hard to make out what this was supposed to be in the vehicle mode. I mean, this is like the upper and front half of the bus. Just pretty smooth crotch plate, all things considered. And there's the butts on the back here. Power loader forming both arms. I guess those are pretty substantial vehicle arms, like vehicular arms, and also nice studded plate continuity across this elbow area and then the hand area. I guess for the construction strength and might. I guess Regent forming the torso. I mean, I guess the main visual cue from him, like the hands and the vents that form the sides of the vents. Good cue there. Otherwise, it adds the tires to it to really tell it's a vehicular combiner, but there's not much Regent in there other than these areas. And that's why Power Loader's bucket was blue, so that it creates a colorful cohesion across the shoulders. I guess this all looks like it's one piece. And why the 7 is here is 7 is split right here. Yeah, incidentally, none of the other Tobots have the numbers except for Regent, whose number 4 is just completely hidden away. No number 5, no number 6. Yeah, it's the fact that there's only number 7 here. Yeah, that Air High just forms a jetpack. You could completely take them off, and but I guess, the reversed wings do give a nice jetpack shape, so what, does boosting it out from this have more lift and thrust than just traditionally like this? Also, that kind of easily pops off. Okay, this probably makes more sense, but face it, it looks cooler this way. And then, the other back half of the airplane forms nice wings, tail fin wings. Although maybe they're a little disjointed here. Nice detail that these kind of imply these are like back jet boosters. And then, maybe jet boosters here. And then some panel lining here, like panel lining with some ridged inner lining. Little circular there. It's a nice head sculpt, and I believe only one of 2 Tobot V in the entirety of the Tobot V to have a faceplate. Everyone had mouths. Yeah, but even then, King Fortran actually has a mouth in the transformation sequence and quickly covered up by a faceplate, and I'm sure there is no mouth under there. It's a very triangular face. Like, yeah, with like, it's nearly a pyramid. With a triangular faceplate upward, and then, yeah, the sides of the helmet thing downward, and also those are some slitted eyes, some slot eyes, really give it a digital feel. Yeah, a big crest, a little white, black, and red crest, nicely painted there. Sides of the head have like trapezoids, like layered trapezoids tessellating each other. Interesting design there, and also, yeah, pretty sloped like a helmet, and then those silver spikes on the top of each other, like the silver painted all across, really does look like a crown. Yeah, his central chest really does kind of look like a traffic light with all 4 primary colors there. Yeah, but that comes off, and then you unfold this, and then this forms a Dane axe. I guess it's a Dane because it kind of looks like a Viking axe or Danish axe. Traffic light. Yeah, but from this you can tell this is 2 plastic pieces, like just green and blue with red and orange painted on the other half, and then red painted all around. Yeah, oddly shaped handle, but yeah, it looks a little asymmetrical when folded up, but not that noticeable. So yeah, it just basically goes in the hand, which thanks to these ridges does friction in pretty securely. Just held in by friction. Which of course leaves a very plain black center block chest, but at least it's not as naked as Titan V. For articulation, the head is on a nice ball socket, so also back flap makes it look up. Yeah, if you can lock that in, I guess, yeah, a little bit of a side-to-side wiggle, and then a good almost 360. Yeah, force it too much in, that'll pop off like a ball socket. I guess a nice clicky ratchet, soft click ratchets at like 3-point intervals. Winging away. Yep. Yeah, just looking at this individual arm, I guess this does have an odd elbow bend because the elbow is mounted all the way over here and rather than naturally like here because of transformation and such. But at least bicep swivel. If that wasn't even part of the main transformation, but they have an extra bicep swivel, so that's great. Also, due to transformation, he does also have a wrist swivel, like wrist swivel down, like a sword wielding wrist, or in this case, an axe wielding wrist. So yeah, good for his chopping action. Has articulated fingers, just like this molded clump, which really lost definition of fingers there. I guess it looks like it's too much paint applied to it, or right, something got blurred in the modeling, and then tiny little orange thumb, like instead of a green thumb, it's an orange thumb. It's orange because that forms the top of the cabin, and then having that black would make it really stand out. It just wiggles a little bit outward. I guess just enough grip to hold on to the X. Really limited outward. That's a big stinker. No extra parts to make this move out of the way, so yeah, that's gonna really limit poses. Sliding joint means no waist, but yeah, good ratchet forward, and yeah, move that skirt out of the way and to reveal more jet boosters. And I guess the double knee, yeah, thanks to the double joint here, you could bend the knee backwards. Now like this. Not quite 90, but I guess good enough, and then oh, no. Backward that much, and then a good split, not complete split, but a good split. And then a transformational heel back. No, that's too loose, and then if you want to get that foot in, you're gonna have to press this little stopper here. Pretty limited thigh swivels because of how big these thighs have to overlap with that red striping right over there. The outwards are the most unfortunate, but otherwise this is a decently articulated Tobot combiner, even bicep swivels. Definitely more articulate than the Titan V with its limited shoulders, and especially arms. But on the other hand, Titan V is more stable than these multiple parts. Yeah, you've seen how I accidentally dislodged this too easily. Wow. This one holds in pretty well. Standing at an average of 12 inches, it is smaller than previous Tobot combiners. But its smaller size, disregarding the scale of two of its members, does make it fit in the scale of Transformer combiners. I do like me some generation scaled Tobots. Finally, Mini Quatran. It's a mostly blue box, and for a mini, it's a pretty big box. Probably even bigger box than the international version. Those mini boxes just go even bigger for some reason. These are flat renders of the actual toy itself, not the bigger Quatran or some animation model. That's good. Mini King Fortran right there, with the symbol of his Dane axe traffic light symbol. For a vehicle combination, yeah, the Dane axe, Robot, Big Boss, Airhide, Power Loader, Regent, or their international names. Yeah, this side has the flat vehicle renders. August of 2022. Probably the very last Tobot V release ever. Just like all the other minis, this is a pretty faithful downscaling. It works with more than 2 plastic colors, almost all of them except white, as seen with these blue shins. Yeah, man, pretty painted pretty nicely. It's painted pretty nicely, just missing maybe a few accent colors. Like here and here on the legs. Hey, but they even have the molded insides, like these are not hollow legs at least. And yeah, I suppose the striping of the airplane is mostly there, except the silver. I guess the weirdest thing is the arms, because they're just all orange with only the blue plastic bucket and the blue painted front. Really could have used the color breakup there. Especially in the hands, just these really orange hands that they barely look like hands. Which can equip this mini Dane axe. Oh, with the same kind of parts forms. Just... yeah, like that. That axe is mostly the same, but then you just detach his handle and then reattach it to form this little slit. Little slit for the little slit hand. And you have a mini Dane axe, although that's considerably hollower than the empty space King Fortran leaves here. Also, is that axe a bit shorter than the main King Fortran? That looks like a tiny little dinky hatchet. A subtle design difference is that the bus rear view mirrors are on the crotch plate, while this one is pretty smooth clean. But the animation model actually has the rear view mirrors on the crotch plate. Which you can see are just right here in the toy. I mean, was that a subtle design change later? So that's they could have fixed on a toy, but in the animation. Anyway, I think this looks better overall than just having these extra things sticking out. For articulation, there's nothing at the head. Ball socketed shoulders let it go a little bit more outward than the King Fortran. That much more outward. Of course, no bicep swivels. The same elbow band as the big Quatran, and then the little sword wrist down with that hardly looks like a hand. Then ball socketed forward. You can't move this skirt flap very well because with the axe in the way, and then even without that, it dislodges. So not that very far forward, nor I mean it goes pretty far backward actually. Same double jointed knees in 2 different colors. Except this upper double joint knee doesn't go backwards, so only this one does, which I guess does make it easier to not accidentally dislodge double joint fiddliness, but yeah, I guess like that. Just kind of loose locking in, transformational toe in. Also, ball sockets don't exactly let it go out that much. Separation into vehicles. Yeah, so these don't have a hinge to hold them together, and that's pretty hollow airplane bits. And also permanently deployed landing gear. But otherwise, reattaches in 4 parts. Soft ratchet there. ball sockets, so yeah, that could wear, but they're completely enclosed, so they should be fine. Yep, the hinge up here, hinge here, the bucket forward, and tabs. I guess this one first, and then this one first. Mini weekend. Guess you have to take this out. Yeah, head in. No sliding buggy joint, but yeah, just pull those in. And then I guess the feet should fold in the same way, just without the extra flaps. Yeah, slide that in. Hinge that in. Double hinge. With tiny Tobot V's come tiny simplifications. Some really heavy simplifications. Let's look at them one by one. It's obvious the windscreen just got really just squashed in there. Just got pushed in there. Like 2 headlights, and yeah, the windscreen doesn't even line up with this, I guess just because of a hinge. And then yeah, the number 4 is there, but this central black section is completely unpainted, except for this one single white stripe and the black paint here. And the pins that hold the wheels together and nothing else are really much more obvious here, and also less defined buggy front. I don't know, somehow this doesn't roll as well, no? Maybe because it has less mass. Oh yeah, because of this. And the back is just kind of messy, you know, just all combining joints. Unlike this one, and of course it doesn't have the extra slider joint to move this forward. Mini Fortran Big Boss is just drastically different, which is because it's just all red. And a darker shade of red at that. I guess that would have required just a whole slathering of yellow paint instead of separate plastic pieces the bigger one can, and thus, because they couldn't afford yellow paint, there's just no yellow paint at all. It's just a big red bus. Big red bus with only, like, apparently only the windows in the front. It's just like a windowless bus. Very windowless because look at all the holes. Look at all those holes and clips that they could keep all on the bottom, but it's just all over the place here. Hinge here, like yeah, clip here, bar hole here. Yeah, you look at the other side, because clips can't quite shrink, and they almost look like about the same size, not exactly, but it's a whole lot more noticeable. There's a big thing sticking off to this side than this bigger bus. Yeah, so that's what happens when you downscale it to such a tiny scale. You have to deal with a whole bunch of ugly holes. This actually soft click hinges though, unlike this one, which is just all loose hinges. Whatever relevance and worth that's worth. This tiny little air height is the best looking. Yeah, with its green plane and only orange striping, no silver, but it still looks pretty good in just orange. And permanently deployed landing gear. Yeah, those clips are almost the same size. I guess they really could not just get those connecting clips any smaller. Or those underside of the wings any more solid. Yeah, but otherwise, it's the exact same proportions. Bit skimped out on the details here, just completely smooth upper body here. And the back has with the back, so otherwise, it's a tiny, nice little tiny lightweight plane that is also just a smidge smaller than the mini air high toy. Yeah, but most noticeable in the engines and the front nose cone. Mini Fortran Power Dozer could have really used some paint because it just really shows there's not a single bit of black paint on this. Only the blue for the lift arm, and that's it. Yeah, this kind of looks like a cheap cereal toy or a model kit toy with stickers sold separately. Yeah, not even stickers. And maybe I would have liked stickers if they couldn't afford black paint, but I think black paint is pretty easy to apply, but you just have to apply it all over on the canopy, including these hollow bits, and then all over on these super simplified details, not even smokestacks. Not even places for taillights. There is taillights, but little step ladder, and then otherwise, this is a super dinky little dozer thing. And even the bucket is compromised because they can only find place for the clip right in the front, and thus it can't really bucket except bucket in two separate buckets. Maybe they didn't really even need a clip because these soft ratchets hold it in pretty well. Of course, scale is all over the place, so this scales either with true 1/64 and or this slightly bigger core laser bee. And this plane is just a bit bigger than common miniature airline models. Assuming the same scale and also that Titan V is the same as King Quatran, it's a sizable combiner for core class transformers, and the upcoming Legacy Volcanicus will probably stand just a bit shorter than Quatran. My conclusion is the exact same consensus. King Fortran is a very good Tobot combiner design, and it certainly has much more girth than the Titan V. But of course, the colors, the Windows 95 Fort palette colors. It was also stated the wild colors are unrealistic for super-powered super robots that turn into realistic vehicles. I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong with the colors themselves, but just the combination of the colors. I guess there's no good focal point that draws the most attention and makes it really stand out. It's kind of maybe the colors are kind of muddled together. Maybe a few color palette swaps with the components and it would have been a slightly more attractive color scheme. I just noticed Carbot Road Saver has almost the exact same color palette, but its colors are much more distinctly dispersed, so it's not an assault on the senses. It's a shame Tobot V wasn't that popular to afford like limited edition redecos, because GD King Quatran could have really benefited from a unified black and or gold color scheme. Maybe it's a combination of the colors, the big ticket item status as something for only for the holidays, and lack of media presence, like literally 2 episodes only. King Fortran just been kind of shelf farming and sitting around and heavily discounted in places. It's probably relatively easy to get even at the shipping prices, but then the Galaxy Detectives King Quatran version is going to be coming around soon, so you could get it more locally. Well, at least it's a pretty good shelf presence and height presence for a Tobot combiner. And then what reason would you have to get this mini one over the bigger one? And that doesn't quite scale well. Yeah, just not much. Just for the relative affordability, like $30-ish compared to the $90-ish. And then it scales better with tiny little cars. But yeah, you better keep this in robot mode because the vehicles are just terribly played. Well, this is the very last Tobot V toy and character, so I'm gonna give some closure to the Tobot V universe with a rambling retrospective. If I released this as soon as this toy was released in November 21, I would have said I was looking forward to the epic finale next year when the 2 Guardian Tobot Space Guardian combiners get together to vanquish the Oracle and save their father, and have some planet-hopping adventures actually in the galaxy along the way. If I released this as soon as the mini came out in August 22, I would be speculating Tobot was being revived or rebooted since Young Toys could have made new V episodes by now, but it's confirmed they decided not to. But I'm releasing this 2 years later where the OG Tobot is back in full swing, and thus this thing is all that. So was this second generation of Tobot victory or a big L? But Tobot V since 2018 did its job of financially supporting the brand. You can look at it this way, Tobot needed a break to recover from its franchise fatigue, and YT was actually bold enough to try a new direction. I guess it was a big refreshing revenue boost in its first year, but then just steadily declined, naturally. But on the other hand, the general casual perception of Tobot might have been muddled with the introduction of those space Tobots, especially on the global marketing. I mean, that exact same unchanged logo on the toys. To some, there may be no distinct difference between the older Tobots and the newer Tobots apart from toys. and there's probably a sizable consumer base that actually prefers Tobot V more than Tobot because they just look so much cooler and awesome and just more interesting than just those plain old vanilla typical cars. I'm sure many kids' first Tobots were the Super Galactic Tobot Vs. You know, every series iteration of any toyetic franchise does bring in new consumers, whether they knew of the original or not, and then they can eventually go back to the originals and appreciate that. And you know, any kids can get attached to the decently written kid pro tags of these kids shows, even though they might be relatively obscure to the rest of the pop culture world. But so you can imagine the Tobot V fans and both Tobot fans are kind of feeling the sadness of cliffhangers, just like the OG fans. And they probably will want a sequel. Maybe not as hard as the OG fans, but there'll probably still be that sentiment. And maybe by crazy circumstance, the Tobot V could continue and come back after a hiatus. If Studio Button can get back to working on a Fire Robo Season 2 7 years after their first season in 2016, then Young Toys could hire them to finish Tobot V or just do a sequel to Tobot V whenever they feel like it. For a hypothetical reason, fandom forbid, that the new Tobot 2023 just really peters out and quickly loses profitability for Young Toys. Or if Young Toys was rich enough, they could just have 2 concurrently running Tobot shows at the same time. Which is kind of the case in the toy line front, because, you know, both Tobots have a presence. And Tobot V technically isn't over just yet, because it still took a whole year from Korea to dub it to the rest of the world. And so now the dub is rolling out. Oh, just imagine the disappointment of the innocent kids. Since the Tobot V universe is kind of fast and loose and open-ended with just passing mentions of the expanded galaxy, there's plenty of room left to your imagination. Like, you could continue the story. Yeah, like the hardcore fans could carry Tobot V. They could write compelling, narratively complex space operas so that the space Tobots can be on a good intimate level as the OG Tobots and fanon. Yeah, give them a stronger emotional core like the brave Felice J. Decker. In short, Tobot's legacy still lives on with its endearing characters in Korea, but for the rest of the world, Tobot V's legacy is that it has cool toys. That's about it. Okay, my quest to review every single Tobot V toy is over. Goodbye indefinitely. Tobot V, we won't be caring about you much. The old established beloved originals are back.